Okay, guys, this is the video that goes along with the next part of your standard 6.49 for Greece. So we're going to continue with the notes that we started yesterday in class. We had gotten to the point where we were actually ready for politics in the polis, but we're going to back up just a little bit because I found a couple of things that I wanted to make sure you understood. Okay, we looked at these pictures yesterday and we talked about the Acropolis. Do you remember what the Acropolis was? Remember, we broke it down? Acropolis, high city, and we talked about the Acropolis being right here. The polis was a city in ancient Greece. They had their own government. They governed their own city and surrounding villages. Each had an agora, which was the marketplace. It was the center of their government, center of their city. The population was generally small. The typical polis was built on two levels, the lower level, which was the marketplace, and the upper level, which was the Acropolis or high city. All right, and it was high up on a hill. The buildings that were there served as temples, government buildings, and a fortress. Okay, so you can see the Acropolis, city on a hill, and right here you can see the Parthenon that sits atop the Acropolis. You can see it here as well. There's some other buildings here. This is actually called an odeum, and if we didn't talk about that in class yesterday, I think we said it was an amphitheater. It is. It's for musical performances. But this was the Odeum to Herodias. I can't remember what his name was. I wrote it down somewhere. I am not good with my Greek gods and goddesses. I'm going to go ahead and tell you. Never interested me. Okay. So moving right along, it's in the diagram we're going to see. And speaking of the diagram we're going to see, this is a diagram of the high city during the time of Socrates and Plato. So you can see the high city here. This would have been the walls, the hill that it sat on. Here's the Parthenon, the sanctuary. The sanctuary of Zeus is here. It's kind of hard to read this. There would have been a statue of Athena right here. And here is the amphitheater that I was talking about, the Odeum. A theater is a theater for musical performances. So this is the Odeum to Herodes. Okay, I googled the pronunciation. Wish I had not done that because I got about 5 or 6 different pronunciations for it. So we're either going to go with Odeum of Herodes or Odeum of Herodes. Atticus. I do know how to say that one good. Alright, so anyways. Alright, moving right along though. That is not what I wanted to emphasize in this lesson. I wanted to explain to you that this is the city on a hill. And when we talked about in our notes, and let me see if I have those here, right here. When we talked about it being the upper level, it was high on a hill, served as a temple, government buildings, and a fortress. I wanted you to be able to see that this is government buildings, the temple. It is a fortress because you had this wall that was surrounding it that we could see when we did the view that someone had done for us on Google Maps. So, anyways, I wanted you to see this layout, this map of the high city, the Acropolis, a city on a hill. Alright, and I showed this in the video I did just before this one. This is a picture of the Parthenon in Greece at night. And this is the Acropolis, and whoops, I have a typo there. This is the Acropolis and the Parthenon. And this is the Parthenon that is in Nashville, and hopefully some of you can go see that. This is the Greek goddess Athena that stands in the Parthenon in Nashville, and this is the god that she holds in her hand, the god Nike, the god of victory. And this is indeed where Nike tennis shoes got its name, because supposedly if you wear Nike tennis shoes, you'll be victorious. Alright, so let's move right along now. We're going to talk about politics in the polis. So I want you to go ahead and open the notes that you started yesterday. Those notes look like this. They say emergence of the city-states, and we had gotten ready to take notes for politics in the polis. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get ready here. We're going to left justify this and put our bullets in again, and we're going to start typing the notes that we need to take for politics in the polis. Remember, you can pause this video anytime you need to so that you can catch up, or if you miss a part, you can pause it to go back and listen to it again. Alright, here we go. Okay, our very first bullet says that each city-state had a different form of government, and in the early times, the polis was governed by an aristocracy. Alright, so we're going to make that note on our Word document. Each city-state had a different form of government. That's going to be your first bullet. Okay, Our second bullet, in early times the polis was governed by an aristocracy. Our next note, and I'm going to abbreviate it just a little bit. In early times, polis was governed by an aristocracy. That's our next note under politics in the polis. Okay, in time, the citizens began governing themselves, and in most of the world, priests and kings held all the political power. So we're going to abbreviate that a little bit. We're going to put that in our notes as well. So we have each city-state had a different form of government. In early times, the polis was governed by an aristocracy. Later on, citizens began governing themselves. And then I'm going to make another bullet and indent it over. The majority world, priests and kings held all the power. All right, we've made those notes. Now, if you caught this, it said in time the citizens began governing themselves. Unfortunately, not everyone was considered a citizen of the city-state that they lived in. Foreigners and slaves were not citizens. Women were citizens, but they could not vote, and they couldn't participate in government. I know, girls, calm down there. All right, so we're going to make some notes here about this. So let's switch over here again. So we're going to type unfortunately. Okay, boo, unfortunately. Not everyone was considered a citizen. Okay, we're going to put this in our notes. I'll toggle back to our Word document. All right, not everyone was considered a citizen. We're going to list these people. These people were not considered a citizen of their city-state. Foreigners and slaves. Now we're going to make a special note about the women because the women were considered citizens. However, they were not allowed to vote. So we're going to make that note a little bit different on our Word document. Okay, let's go ahead and make that note. So we've got these people were not considered a citizen of the city-states, foreigners and slaves. All right, we are going to put that women were considered citizens. However, they were not allowed to vote or participate in the government. And if you want to bold that or underline it or highlight it, you can do that because that's important to know. Women were considered citizens, but they were not allowed to vote or participate in the government. All right, moving right along now. Citizens in the polis felt very strong pride and loyalty to their polis. The Greeks believed that a good citizen should always be willing to sacrifice for his city. The polis was the framework of Greek life. If a polis was successful, citizens considered themselves a success as well. Okay, so we're going to take some notes on this as well. All right, let's go ahead and switch over. We're going to take some notes on this. Okay, I've made a separate little subtitle here that says Citizens of Ancient Greece. And I'm going to list some things about being a citizen of ancient Greece. First of all, they felt strong pride and loyalty to their polis. They also thought that a good citizen would always be willing to make sacrifices for their city. And if the polis was successful, then the people would be successful as well. All right, so if you were a citizen of Greece, you would be very prideful of your city, very loyal to your city. They would believe that you would always be willing to make sacrifices for your city. And if your city was successful, then the people that were living there would be as well. All right. Now I have a cool little map here of the city-states and ethnic groups of ancient Greece. You don't see maps like this very often, I don't think. A lot of them aren't as complete as this one, but anyways, I happened to find this map. Miss Masker was real impressed with it. I was too, and I thought I would show it to you. These were the different city-states and ethnic groups that were in ancient Greece. So as you can see, there were quite a few. Okay, so I think we've finished taking the notes that we're going to take today. We're going to do a couple more things, but I want us to go back really quickly and look at our standard. Okay, so far it says, explain how the development of the democratic political concepts in ancient Greece led to the origins of direct democracy and representative democracy. Okay, we are explaining this lead up to how direct democracy and representative democracy started. You need to understand, according to your standard, what a polis is, a city-state. Okay, I think you've got pretty good understanding of that. We're getting there. We're going to talk about it some more in class. Okay, today we talked about the civic participation and voting rights. Who could vote, who couldn't vote, who was considered a civilian, a citizen, and who was considered a citizen that didn't have voting rights. So we talked about our voting rights today. If you've ever heard someone say they have done their civic duty, then most of the time they're talking about they went to vote. So we're going to talk about later this week the legislative bodies, the Constitution writing, and the rule of law. All right, so you can go ahead and close your notes from Office 365, and we're going to hopefully watch another video talking about the polis or the city-states, and then we're going to be leading right into now direct democracy and representative democracy in our next lesson. Okay, so go back, once you finish this video, you'll go back to Canvas and see what I have lined up for you to do next. Okay, see you, bye.